I'm not used to work with different art-based methods when I'm teaching or lecturing. So this was a great experience for me, being part of this project, to slowly, in my own way, get an idea about how I can use art-based methods in my teaching. And also to be part of trying them out myself. And I have never been very comfortable with using art in different ways, and also not privately a person who use art or who work with art. But I really think that it is an effective method if you want to bring in yourself, your own experiences and others' experiences, dealing with sensitive topics that maybe needs to be addressed in different ways, and not only by reading and lecturing and writing essays and so on. Also, if you're working with refugees, for instance, who might not have the same language as easily as you, or you don't share the language with them, using art-based methods might be a way to actually being able to communicate between yourself or between them, even though they might not share the same language, around certain topics or experiences that they had. So I can see the benefit of focusing on or reaching out to other methods with regard to that too. We are lots of times used in the academic world, we are used to be very much attached to like writing and reading, but working in communities outside of academia and engaging really and trying to empower those communities, it can be extremely important also to develop other tools like art-based methods.
My field is nationalism, ethnic groups, and I specialized during the last few years in Jewish cultures. My experience with the students during all these years is that it is easier to absorb the readings if they are accompanied by a visual product. The courses that they remember really well are the ones that have visual material, mainly the one that they produce themselves.
I will be teaching a course about community and mobility experiences, and it's going to be a course in which students reflect about what is community, what does it mean to be a community, to be in a community, what makes up a community. When you encourage students to express it in an artistic way, there may be two things happening. So one thing is people open up in another way. There's less formats. You have to write an essay, something completely different to make a film, make a video, right? And so that's one thing, to make it more creative, more free. And the other thing is that they will be encouraged to think about who will listen to this, who will be seeing this, who will be participating in this exhibition or in this meeting, encounter, whatever it will become.
I'm an author and anthropologist, and I use children's books in order to discuss sensitive issues with both in academic classes and when I do workshops with professionals, and also with groups of immigrants that I work with parents. And I find that the children's books are very effective in encouraging people to talk about issues that are difficult to talk about. It enables people to identify with the experiences of immigrants. When I first started trying to use children's books with adults, I wasn't sure how people would react, or whether they would think, oh, this is not academic, or this is not a high enough level. And I'm actually very positively surprised that people really relate very well to it, and it has an amazing ability of getting people to talk about issues which maybe otherwise it would be difficult to talk about. It's possible to just talk to people about issues and just give a lecture about something. Or when you divide people up into small groups and you give them an assignment, then they're much more involved. People are curious. People usually have a lot of things to say in the discussion that follows reading the book. It touches on universal human experiences. People who are immigrants themselves can definitely identify with the issues that come up in the books. And people who are not immigrants themselves, it raises empathy for the experiences that immigrants go through. For example, raising issues about colour, which is something that people find it difficult to talk about or difficult to understand. The children's books create a safe space to talk about it, because you can talk about the characters in the book, you can identify with the story, you can empathize, and you don't necessarily have to talk about yourself. And if you want to talk about yourself and you want to take it to a personal level, then it's easier to do so.
I taught in the past year a course called Migration and Minorities in Children's Literature. It's a course that combines children's literature on refugees, migrants, immigrants, with students' life as members of a minority group in Israel and ancestors of some displaced people. In this course, I used arts as a means for expression, where I read children's literature for students and then invited them to connect the stories, the experiences of the characters in the stories to their life, and the challenges they face in their life journeys, different problems they face in everyday life, and express that through artistic means, like drawing, like making collages, like writing poems, like making videos, telling their stories, like photographing problems they want to change in their reality, and elaborating on these problems. So arts was a means for expression, self-expression in this course. We talked about displaced people, Palestinian displaced people who were displaced in 1948. Some students said they didn't know anyone who was displaced, but when they asked their grandparents or friends of their grandparents, they discovered that actually they were ancestors of displaced people. So the interviews gave them, with those displaced people, gave them a new perspective to look at their past, to connect with their past. There were some students who were so quiet in my class in the previous year. I taught them before, and they never said a word in class. But when I asked them to start expressing themselves through drawing, through the arts, through a different means of expression, I found that they have very profound things to say, and they started speaking up, and they started shining in class. I felt that students were more creative when I used arts, maybe because it provided a different means for them, a different medium for them to speak up other than just standing in class and presenting. It was creative, it encouraged their creativity. And they were more willing to speak up, especially when they spoke to each other first. They shared with each other, and they shared with the whole group afterwards. That was safer for them.
I have cards which are in a different color, and I call them the question cards. And these cards have on them things that happen. Okay, for example, abuse, neglect, violence, delinquency, falling out of school, various different things that happen. So they are face down on the board, and I ask students to take a card, and then I ask them to tell everybody what card they got, and to look at the board and think, where would you find the reasons for this happening? Why does this work? It works because it engages the students. It encourages them to see complexity. They can't just define a problem according to the qualities of the child or the qualities of the parents. They have to see the whole picture. Sometimes it's really, really hard to see the whole picture. For example, one of the things the teachers said when they use this method is that it encourages the teachers to get to know the children, because they suddenly realize they don't know the child. They don't have an answer to all these different contexts. And this is one of the reasons it changed the way they work in the school. And finally, that nothing can be properly understood without looking at context. So a lot of people mentioned the fact of using diverse teaching methods, the fact that it was very interactive. This course was very different from any other I experienced in academia, stressing very much practice and not just theory. So you see that a lot of students very much related to the idea of this other way of learning rather than just having lectures.
And this course, Dialogue Through Media, is based on the research, on the model of dialogue through cinema that brings groups in conflict together to meet and to talk about their personal narratives and to create creative products together. So it can be it could be any media product. It can be a documentary. It could be a video out. It could be anything that brings their narratives into context, and it gives them a platform to talk to one another and to create a dialogue. And actually, that's the benefit of this kind of project, because first of all, you have a platform that brings different students from different cultures to engage and to meet one another and to talk about their personal stories. Some of them don't even know their personal stories, so we send them back home to ask questions, to do their research, to find interesting locations to tell their stories. They come back and they're overwhelmed also to listen to one another and also to know things about themselves. And they find it as an opportunity to tell their story, to bring their different family stories and to give them a voice. So the students are non-artists, and the benefit of them being in such a course brings them to find different means of interests, also in their project, also in the way they tell stories, also in the way they find interesting places to, take the footage and to take a stand of aesthetic value. And this is something that they wouldn't have in another course. So this is also special about this course. I also think that another thing is having them work in small groups where they don't work in other courses. So they have the benefit of working together. Having this course of dialogue through media enabled us to use different means of technology that we wouldn't have used if it wasn't this way. And we could always do a course of just having a dialogue and bring different groups together and just talk about it and maybe write a research or write diaries. But having them create this short film enables them to also screen it out to the community, to have their families see these pieces of documentaries and to relate to it.
Well, we're basically at the moment looking at using simulations with teachers and students who are training to be teachers, and also with students who are training to be social workers. It's one thing to talk about an issue and to lecture about it. It's a completely different thing when a student tries to enter a situation which is they're likely to confront either in class or in therapy, basically to face their own preconceptions and biases, which we all have. We all have preconceptions and biases and prejudices. Luckily, apart from being prejudiced, we're also all capable of being of having empathy. And I think this is the great strength, that if we can be with empathy for other people, then maybe we can counteract some of the stereotypes that we've internalized, each one of us.
Well, the maps idea, it comes from actually from social science, and I'm a sociologist, so I was very interested in the transnational connections of migrants and refugees and how they stay connected to their people, and whether they stay connected to their people, how they do it. And we thought that these kind of networks, these maps where the people are in the center and they can put in some very close people to their network and tell us who is connected in which ways, this could be a way to identify the transnational situation of these people. We had a feedback round with the migrant youth. The thing was that we wanted to give them the opportunity to create their maps, either alone or in groups. They could choose their place also at the university, so we went out of the classroom, we went into the green, it was a beautiful day. Some of them went to classrooms, others went out and choose their place. And they created a map on their own, and we didn't interfere. But after that, we invited those young people to talk about these maps. But the thing was, they could choose whether they would like to talk about the maps or not. And the interesting thing was, there was only a few who refused or who didn't want to talk about the maps, and it was completely okay. So they created the maps only for themselves. The others talked about their experiences with creating this map, and also they told the story behind the map and shared it with the others. For them, I mean, it was they found it a great experience to do this map, and especially it was a great experience because they met a lot of people here, like in their residential care. They used to be in residential care homes, and they told us, okay, you know, never any adult in Germany asked us these kind of questions. Where are your beloved one living? How do you stay in connection with them? All these kind of things. So we opened up kind of a space, and it was the chance for them to talk about things that were hidden for a long time. Talking about these issues, about arts, it changed, it opened up a different thing. So for me, it also changed the relationship to students, you know. When I was talking to students about the idea, okay, let me know, I'm not an artist. I have this idea. It's an experiment for me, it's an experiment for you. I don't know where it ends and how it happens and how we can manage it, but let's try it. And from there on, students were engaged, you know. They were thinking together with me about how to use these creative methods, and I was happy that everyone came up with different methods. So also for me, I realized that many things in classroom take place not only on a cognitive level, but much more on a bodily level and also on a collaborative level. So it changed also the experience how I work with students, and I think also students thought differently about how to approach young migrants who may be clients in future times for them.
We speak all the time about to be teacher, to be guidance for the others. Okay, you should be a model for them. You should to teach them how to listen. Okay, how to hear the inside voice, because I think the big part to be teacher, not only to know and to do, also to feel the other, to be with the other, because it's, I think, a lot of the role of the teacher to be human. That's it.